address all of you here on a very transformational moment in history, and that is artificial intelligence, right? And we heard about it in some of the earlier speeches. I'll try and uncover a little bit about what that means for India in the coming decades and the century, probably. So we are currently living through a time in history which, when we look back, is going to be looked at as a very, very transformational moment, right? And a decade ago, this was very different. Decade ago, the world was asking how many people are coming online in India, right? That's changed dramatically today. Today, the world is asking, given the wealth of infrastructure, the digital infrastructure that we've created, the wealth of technical talent that we have in India, the world is asking, what are we going to build next? And, I represent Google, and our belief is the answer to that comes from AI, or artificial intelligence. And that's going to shape the future. And this is not something we are talking about, the AI of the future, of sci-fi movies. This is now and here solving real problems for over 1.4 billion people of the country. 3 years back, even in mainstream commercial businesses, we were not talking about generative AI, right? Today, it is a piece of technology that has taken over the world and has demonstrated unprecedented growth. And I am talking about things in history like computers, internet, mainframes, any era you look at, even mobiles. Nothing matches the growth that we're witnessing with AI. In such a short span of time, it has had a very transformative impact on all of our lives. And we are just getting started, right? So, and it's not just me who believes that. This was a statement recently made by Mr. Sundar Pichai, who's the CEO of our organization, and he believes that this has a very fundamental, profound impact on society at large across the globe. And the underlying theme is about AI for all. And I got thinking, saying that, when we talk about AI for all, AI at scale, what do we need? What are the things that make for a perfect combination, right? And we are talking about, AI will be very helpful when there is scale, there is diversity, and there are large problems to solve. And India checks all the boxes, right? We have a combination of all that we have to look at. Take the example of linguistic diversity. And, if we have to bring hundreds of millions of people into mainstream, we have to solve for linguistic diversity when it comes to India. That's just one example, right? AI has the potential to boost economics, accelerate solutions, but only if developed and deployed in a way that is inclusive. And for that, we need governance of AI. We need to build trust, the infrastructure, and enable innovation. And then the adoption will result in the transformation we all seek for everybody around us. It will need governments, private sector, researchers, developers, all to come together to realize the power of this technology for India. What I'm going to do is just talk a little bit about what AI has achieved today and, kind of problems it is solving today, and then see how it is playing out in the context of India. And then say, how do we think about what do we do next from here, right? So impact of AI, I'll just take a few examples of some of the problems that AI has solved in the world today. And, we are talking about self-driving cars. We're talking about, satellite-based fire detection using AI. We're talking about flood control. We're talking about, reducing contrails for the aviation industry. These are big problems to solve. These are hard problems to solve. Wildfire, today we are able to detect with AI at 400th the size of what satellite-based, early satellite warning systems can detect. Self-driving cars are doing 25,000 miles a day of self-driving. Unthinkable, just a while back when these technologies were starting to start. Google Flood Hub today is able to give early flood warnings to farmers. Imagine a farmer in Bihar, and they probably used to get a notice of a flood coming maybe an hour earlier. There's little they could do at that time but run. If that changes, and that's changing now, with, say, an early warning to up to 7 days in advance, they can move their livestock, they can move their families, they can take, precautionary actions. That's the transformation we are talking about, and think of the scale at which this impacts, the farmers and people in India. Everybody heard of AlphaGo here? For those who've not, it was a software that was built by Google, which was completely self-learning. And what it did is it bait Lee Sedol, who's 18 times world champion in the game of Go, and one of the greatest of all time. And there was a match which was watched live by 200 million people across the globe, and AlphaGo won 4:1. What's interesting is not that it could beat a human at a game. What's interesting is, why this game is so complex. The game has 10 raised to 170 possibilities. That is 1 followed by 170 zeros. That's the number of moves that the game has, right? So this is not a game which is, something you could train just based on calculation. There is a lot of intuition involved. And to everybody's surprise, the computer model was able to make creative moves that were never seen in the game before. And that's the kind of power we are talking about. And why I'm talking about that, right? If you were to think of AlphaFold, and this is a lot more profound, and I don't know if some of you have heard here about that, but this is about the whole protein folding model that we build. And the story is like this, right? That in 1990, there was a project launch, a scientific project launch, which was called the Human Genome Project, right? After 13 years and 2.7 billion in money spent, it was able to do the first human genome sequencing. But if we were to do human genome sequencing for all the proteins that are there, we could take the eternity of time, when I'm talking about time from the beginning till now, and we would still not be able to do it with the current set of methods that were available. And that's where at Google, a bunch of scientists got together and they said, can we look at solving this problem using AI? And today, as you see, through this software, 200 million proteins are already, the sequencing is done for them, right? And this is growing by the year. And this 200 million proteins was just done in 1 year. As we open sourced all of that work, and today 3 million researchers across the globe are using the same technology to solve greater problems that humanity is facing. And they spread across 190 countries. The impact of this was so profound that the scientists who worked on this, they got a Nobel Prize in chemistry. Fun fact, they did not have a formal education in chemistry. So that's, again, power of AI, where the whole world's, some of the most brilliant minds were working on it in a conventional way, and how we could solve it in a very, very different way, right? And what is the impact of these 3 million researchers now? We are looking at solving plastic pollution. We are talking about solving diseases that were neglected or not solved for yet, doing drug discovery, talking about structural biology. These are the kind of innovations that will make a very, very massive impact in times to come. Uh, so this was just a flavor of the kind of hard problems AI is already able to solve, right? And I said this is just the beginning. We are only talking about early years, early times here. Uh, and a lot of it I spoke about sounded like in the computational world, right? I just wanted to play a small video. This was released 6-7 months back about how AI is going to interact with the physical world. And uh, sorry, you will have. Okay, we'll be back. Thank you. So I'm told the video cannot play here, but it's basically about Project Astra. If some of you have not seen, you can go in and look up. Basically, how AI is able to interact in a real physical world. It retains context of everything that is going around, and it can switch context. So basically, in that video, we talk about how you throw a math problem at it. You talk about how you ask something that's there in the physical world, and it's able to interact. And that's just the idea was to just show the possibilities of what's going to happen in the physical world in the times to come. Just moving on, I'm just moving to a little bit about some of the impactful work happening with AI inside India, right? I mentioned earlier that if you are solving for India and the 1.4 billion people of India, we cannot bring hundreds of millions of people, 1.4 billion to be precise, into the mainstream economy unless we solve for the linguistic divide. So we've launched some projects here, which is Project Morni, which is trying to bring 100 plus Indic languages and building models around trying to understand these languages far more deeply. Complementing that, there's a project that we're running along with IISc called Project Vani. And the interesting thing here is we all understand the linguistic diversity, but if you look at if you look at a layer below that, we have several dialects, and the dialects and the culture changes every few hundred kilometers. Now, how do you capture that kind of diversity? So we're running a project called Project Vani, where across 773 districts, we are collecting open-sourced raw voice data in these different languages. And that will allow us to make sure that as we build for AI for Bharat, we are building keeping the inclusivity of the entire population in mind, and not just the few of us who are privileged and part of the mainstream. Agricultural landscape, if you've heard of Project Anthrokrishi, what we're doing here is the ability to map farm and water bodies across the country at granular details. This will help farmers improve yields, do protection from pests, take actions in time to be able to go very precise in what is happening in that area, that belt, and that region. Think about applications like loans for farmers. There is a big problem today that you don't know where the boundary starts, where the boundary ends. These are the kind of problems we are talking about solving with AI, and they are not humanly possible any other way at the level of other technologies that are available today. Project Greenlight is about solving the problem of urban India, where traffic lights are now helping us reduce emissions by up to 10%. And the applications are many. They are diverse. They are across the breadth of the economy. With automated retinal disease assessment, a tool that we're building. Today, doctors are scarce, right? People don't have access to doctors. Doctors are able to help prevent blindness just by looking at diabetic patients and looking at their scans for retinal diabetic. So these are things again which will help solve problems at scale. We're working with Vadwani AI Group to help farmers, again cotton farmers to be precise, on reducing identifying pests and reducing the incidence of pest damage that is happening to their crop. Google Pay, we heard in the morning, it started as Tez, for those who remember, in India, and now it's a global product as Google Pay. But again, AI is helping us secure these complex networks and payment infrastructure in the country. So those are just some flavors of India. I'll skip through this because we're not able to play a video, but this was this is shot in our Bangalore office where the same project Astra is looking at a math problem that is shown to it, and it is conversing in Hindi and English to a complex math problem and able to converse very fluently and guide us in terms of how you could solve that problem, what's the right approach to solve that problem. It's again very interesting. You can look it up. It's available publicly on YouTube. And but this can solve things like education at scale for the population of the country. Yeah. So moving on, what are we doing? You know, given all the potential of India, and we spoke about AI being a great leveler, and the ability or the opportunity for India to leverage this moment and make this century its own. So at Google, we've committed to a very large AI hub announcement to the tune of $15 billion, which is coming up at Vizag. This announcement was made last month. And we believe that this will pave the way for creating the kind of AI infrastructure that is needed for us to be able to solve the kind of problems we just discussed. But, you know, putting rails is not going to be enough by itself. We need the trains to run on them. And that's where we need help from all of you present here. The ask is for entrepreneurs, for developers, for policymakers, for industries. Yeah. Yeah, so the infrastructure is ready, the opportunity is immense, and the only question left is, what will you build? And as I said earlier, this is the decade, the century, where the world is looking at India to build. Last but not the least, I talked about it throughout my presentation. AI is here, it is impacting every industry, every part of the world, but the huge opportunity is for us to see how it brings benefits to billions of people and not just the select few. And that's, you know, when AI would probably mean all included and nobody's left behind. And that's the opportunity in front of us. Thank you.
Many thanks, Mr. Shah, and I